Hi guys, Dietitian Catherine here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make my all-time favorite banana bread recipe. Now, I've been a little bit sneaky here because I'm actually not going to make this recipe with bananas. I'm going to make it with applesauce instead, which just goes to show you how versatile this recipe is. If you were to make it with bananas, you would take 3 bananas and mash them up. Now, these could be fresh bananas or frozen bananas, whatever you have on hand. This, by the way, is a great opportunity for your kids to come in, or like me, your nieces and nephews to come in and mash bananas for you. They are great banana mashers. Little kids are. But before I dive into the recipe, I'm going to show you how to prepare your pan. At this point, before you begin, you're going to want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and then you're going to want to prepare your pan. Now, you just take a regular loaf pan. You could spray it with cooking spray. However, this bread is kind of delicate, so even when you let it cool, it's going to be kind of delicate. When you flip it over, it could break apart. So one of the best things I found is to take a piece of parchment paper and to make a little sling. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So I'm going to move the camera down so you can see kind of exactly what I'm doing here. Now, so here's our pan. You flip it over, and you're going to take your piece of parchment paper and a pair of scissors. And you're basically going to measure it. Why am I having difficulty with this, folks? Okay, yeah, you're gonna measure it basically. So from this end to this end, you're gonna cut. You want it to fit in the bottom of your pan and then along the sides. So flip it over. If you can keep track of all of your parchment paper, which I'm having difficulty doing, and you stick it down into your pan like this, press it in, and press the other part in, and stick it in there. Okay, notice how you've made kind of an X or a cross, and it makes like a sling, so when you want to pull your bread out, you just pull up these little wings, and your bread comes right out, and you don't even have to worry about your bread falling apart. I like to keep my scissors in here because as long as they're clean, because that keeps it from fluffing. All right, we're gonna set that aside and start with our ingredients. I always like to start with my wet ingredients first, and I've already measured everything out for you. So in here we have 1 egg, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/4 cup of pure maple syrup. Make sure you use pure maple syrup and not the imitation syrup that's actually high fructose corn syrup. Next, I'm going to take my coconut oil. And you can use butter if you don't have or don't want to use coconut oil. Coconut oil, as you guys know, is mostly solid. So I measured out my coconut oil, which is 1/3 cup, and I put it in a container and I microwaved it for a minute so it would become liquid. So I'm going to put that in here, and I'm going to actually just kind of beat it up with the egg. I always like to make sure my egg is kind of all beat up before I get the rest of my liquid ingredients in. Mixing it up, and then I'm going to add my applesauce. Now at this point you would have put in your bananas and started mashing them, but I'm using 1.5 cups of applesauce instead. Nothing super scientific about this step. All you're doing is combining your liquid ingredients. Now, next, I'm going to put in my flour and my seasonings. So I have 1.5 cups of oatmeal flour. Now, to make oatmeal flour, you can either buy it at the store, or you can just put whole rolled oats in your food processor and just pulse it for a while until you get a flour-like mixture. Make sure that you make your flour mixture before you measure out your 1.5 cup oats, because it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. So I have my 1.5 cup oat flour, a tablespoon of cinnamon. I absolutely love cinnamon, so for me, the more the merrier. 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg and 1/4 teaspoon allspice. Those 2 spices are kind of more optional, but I absolutely love putting those in. So I'm gonna put these in, and I'm also going to add my leaveners. So I have 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, and 1 teaspoon baking powder. and you put all of your dry ingredients in at once, and then you mix it up. Now, I said earlier that this recipe is very versatile, and it really is. I actually have put in 1/4 cup of smashed strawberries along with my bananas, and the strawberry banana mixture was awesome. I've also put in fresh blueberries as well, which tasted fantastic too. You could add coconut, you could add some flax seeds if you want, if you're really health conscious. Okay, so you don't want to overmix this. You just want to make sure that there aren't any big chunks of flour at all and no gargantuous lumps. Next, you're going to take your pan that you have prepared. And sometimes this part is a little bit tricky because this paper pops up. So what I like to do is I kind of put door stoppers in here. I plop some of my dough in here to keep it down. And then after that, I am free to put in my, I'll turn it so you guys can see it a little bit better. I think you guys will agree that this is not hard to make, especially if you have all of your ingredients measured out already. It's just assembly is, no pun intended, but a piece of cake. Okay? Make sure I have all the goodness from my little cup that I used here. Kind of spread it out a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to get the batter into the corners. But there you go. So you're going to stick this in your oven, which when it's preheated, it should be 350 degrees. And you are going to bake it for 45 to 50 minutes. My oven tends to run kind of hot, so I tend to set my timer for 40 minutes and then do the toothpick test. So you take a toothpick, you insert it. If it comes out really gooey or with a lot of crumbs attached to it, you know you need a little bit more time. So I normally stick it in for 3 to 5 more minutes, so total time is 43 to 45 minutes. Then I pull it out when it looks like it's all done, do the toothpick test, it comes out clean, and then I let it cool. I've actually taken it out of the pan before it's cooled before and set it on a rack if I've thought that maybe I overcooked it, and that prevents it from carry over cooking too much. So you can cool it in your pan, or if you think that maybe you overcooked it, you can pull it out of your pan using your sling and let it cook that way. Make sure it's mostly cool before you dive into it. That way it doesn't dry out too fast. And I think you guys will agree that this is incredibly easy and is very healthy. It's higher in fiber than most of your banana breads or any kind of sweet bread that you would make or buy. And it's lower in refined sugar. Hope you guys enjoy. See you guys next time.